Here are today's top stories. Continuous pollution of Boracay's water is seen to delay the island's rehabilitation and reopening. President Duterte is seeking peaceful alternatives instead of going into war over disputed West Philippine Sea. The Department of Trade and Industry shows support for provisions of the second train law that will benefit investment activities. And Baguio City raises alarm over the rising number of HIV cases among homosexual men. Good day, I'm William Theo. Welcome to the PNA Newsroom. Boracay is unlikely to reopen soon if the sea around the island continues to remain polluted. That's according to Environment Secretary Roy Cimatu, who blames non-compliant Boracay establishments that do not have proper sewerage systems. More on this from Janice Cabe.
It would take longer for the government to reopen Boracay Island to tourists if establishments in the famed island resort would not help fix their own sewerage and drainage systems. That is according to Environment Chief Roy Cimatu, citing the level of fecal coliform in the waters of Boracay as still way above the accepted level for the waters to be considered safe for human use. He noted that the indiscriminate direct discharge of wastewater into the sea is one of the main reasons for the island's environmental ruin. Cimatu, who heads the interagency task force managing the rehabilitation efforts, wants the drainage system problems fixed before the island's reopening. The DENR chief said Boracay establishments need to speed up fixing their respective faulty sewerage and drainage systems by October to allow time for checking before the island's reopening. Also, the DENR reported entering into an agreement with major business groups in Boracay regarding the construction of sewerage treatment plants to help address water pollution in the area. The agreement was reached during a meeting between Cimatu and officials of Boracay Foundation Incorporated, Boracay Chamber of Commerce of the Philippines, and Filipino-Chinese Chamber Federation Iloilo Chapter. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Janice Cabe.
President Rodrigo Duterte insists that he will not go to war that would result in the destruction of the armed forces of the country amid China's show of military force in the disputed West Philippine Sea. Duterte made this comment as he graced the 120th anniversary of the Philippine Navy. The president said he could not go into a battle that will only result in losses in the armed forces. Duterte said he really wanted to assert the Philippines' claims, but opted to be temporarily shelve an arbitral tribunal's decision to give way to friendly and peaceful dialogues. The United Nations-backed Permanent Court of Arbitration ruled that China's 9-dash line map covering nearly the whole of South China Sea has no legal basis. Duterte said he had discussed with Chinese President Xi Jinping that he would bring up the verdict again with the Chinese leader before he steps down in 2022. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque assured the Philippines would not give up any of its territorial claims. The Department of Foreign Affairs is already addressing the deployment of Chinese military assets in disputed territories through diplomatic approach. The Light Rail Manila Corporation is seeking a 5 to 7 peso fare increase for the LRT-1 to further improve its operations. The LRT-1 operator said fare hikes are necessary to recoup the investments it has made to improve the railway system. LRMC President and CEO Juan Alfonso says they already submitted a petition for fare hike last March. He says they hope to recoup the level of fares that we are supposed to be given as of 2018 in accordance with the concession agreement. The LRMC is asking for an average of 5 pesos fare increase and an upward adjustment of 7 pesos for the end-to-end trip from Baclaran to Roosevelt stations. The fare adjustments will take effect in August once this is approved by the Department of Transportation or DOT. LRT riders are currently paying 30 pesos going to Baclaran from Roosevelt. The PNP and COMELEC has lifted the gun ban implemented for the Barangay and Sangguniang Kabataan election period. The lifting of the ban means all suspensions of permits to carry firearms outside of residence have been lifted as well. PNP spokesperson John Bulalakaw, however, clarifies that even with the end of the election period, police will still set up checkpoints and arrest those who do not have permits. Police confiscated 1,250 assorted firearms throughout the election period. They also arrested 1,430 gun ban violators, including 31 government officials, 9 cops, and 6 military personnel. Malacanang is leaving the filing of charges against former Tourism Promotions Board COO Cesar Montano to the Office of the Ombudsman. Presidential spokesperson Harry Roque says the Ombudsman has jurisdiction over whether Montano will face criminal charges. Roque explains that the Ombudsman has a constitutional mandate to investigate and determine whether the actor violated the anti-graft law. Montano earlier submitted his resignation letter to President Duterte following allegations of corruption. Among the issues against him was the 80 million peso sponsorship deal of the Buhay Carinderia project. The Department of Tourism has yet to name his replacement. Still to come, the Department of Trade and Industry shows support for provisions of the Second Train Law that will benefit investment activities. An Army official calls for the continued implementation of martial law in Mindanao. These and more when the PNA Newsroom continues.
Ito yung unang oil well onshore na mayroong commercial volume for production. So, very important ito sa energy security ng ating bansa.
Prefer for an expansive human and economic development. Mudaghan na.
So ito yung oil well, one of the oil wells na drinil ng CIMP.
Yes, it's called P3 well.
More than 265,000 hectares na lugar na pwedeng mag-drill, pwedeng mag-extract at mag-produce ng oil.
The certified reserves for the gas portion is 9.8 billion cubic feet of gas. Now that's the reserves on the ground. If you want to produce that, you can only produce 80%. There's a RF, we call it, the recovery factor. For gas, it's around 80%. So 80% of 9 is around 6. Kasi some of it will be left behind.
Okay.
In the oil, the same thing. It's 27, but the oil recovery is less. It's around 12 to 15%. So we put it as around 4 million barrels. Na mailalabas mo.
Ang sabi kasi, Ed, ay yung reserve is until 2037.
That's 19 years from today.
19 years from today. So as we speak, meron ng langis dito.
It's ready to produce.
This is very good for the national economy, for the local economy. At alam naman natin na makakalikarin ito ng napakadaming trabaho para sa mga taga Montpelier at sa bayan po ng Alegria dito sa Cebu.
Rigatag sa Ginoo sa inyo. And do not forget your fellow. Man sila nga rin, Diyos sobre pero inabuhi lang po na. So I hope that you don't lose sight of the fact that we are all Filipinos. Daghang salamat.
The Philippine Ports Authority will be accelerating the implementation of infrastructure projects in ports nationwide amid robust growth in revenues for the first quarter of the year. The PPA earned 3.78 billion pesos for the first quarter, which is higher by 9% from last year. This was reportedly driven by the strong performance of the government's share from storage fees. Its fund management income increased by 26% to 30.41 million pesos this year from 24 million last year. The strong financial performance will enable the agency to further improve ports which are heavily congested with cargo and passengers. PPA General Manager J. Daniel Santiago says they have been injecting investments in ports in support of the Build, Build, Build program of the administration. The PPA is currently conducting 45 locally funded port development projects in Luzon, 19 for Visayas, and 40 for Mindanao. The PPA expects that it could hit its gross income target of 16.18 billion pesos as some of the projects start to go online this year. The Department of Trade and Industry is reaching out to stakeholders to ensure that the proposed second tranche of the tax reform law will be beneficial to those concerned. More on this from Miguel Hill.
The Department of Trade and Industry expressed support for most provisions of the proposed tax reform for Acceleration and Inclusion Package 2 or Train 2, but indicated that it is also closely coordinating with the Department of Finance to air the concerns of various stakeholders. Trade Secretary Ramon Lopez revealed that the DTI has agreed to create a strategic investment priorities plan to identify preferred areas of investment activity to be led by the Board of Investments. The DOF seeks to create a single, unified list of preferred economic activities that will be granted incentives by the government through the priorities plan to be implemented nationwide. The trade chief likewise supports the proposal to remove the nationality requirement and bias for export activities to qualify for tax perks. On the other hand, Lopez cited inputs and recommendations for stakeholders for the Train 2, which include 1. Preserving a one-stop shop character of the PESA and IPA transactions. 2. Putting a cap or harmonizing tax rates and fees which the local government units can impose. 3. Reasonable duration and modality to allow investors enjoying the 5% gross income earned to transition to the new regime. 4. Clarifications on the applications of value-added tax exemptions, zero rating and refund systems. 5. Longer transition period or continued incentives for purely export-oriented efficiency-seeking products. 6. The role and composition of Fiscal Incentives Review Board and the DOF. And 7, power of the President to negotiate incentives beyond the menu of Train 2 for highly desirable projects. For the PNA Newsroom, I am Miguel Hill.
A high-ranking military official who saw action in Marawi City is in favor of the continued implementation of martial law in Mindanao. Lieutenant General Rolando Joselito Bautista, a commanding general of the Philippine Army, says martial law helped reduce loose firearms and facilitate the arrest armed lawless elements. He stressed that no human rights abuses have been committed while martial law is in place. Bautista served as commander of the 1st Tabak Division during a battle of Marawi City exactly a year ago. Among the activities in the commemoration of the city are the awarding of meritorious promotion to about 6,000 enlisted personnel who fought against the Maute terrorist group and 4,000 others. Bautista says the military and the government continue their roles in rehabilitating Marawi City. He says the Battle of Marawi should be a lesson for all so that such an incident would never again happen. The National Irrigation Administration has approved the construction of the Ibingan Earthfill Dam in the municipality of Prieto Diaz in Sorsogon. NIA Administrator Ricardo Visaya says the construction of the 381 million peso Ibingan Earthfill Dam will be done under its small reservoir irrigation project. The dam aims to provide sufficient supply of water, particularly for irrigation. The construction of the dam is supervised by MAC Builders under the administration's Build, Build, Build project. Speeding up infrastructure and improving industries is part of the 10-point socio-economic agenda of President Duterte, which aims to reduce poverty by 2022 through infrastructure platforms. A retired fiscal was shot dead in Barangay 50th District, Osamis City, Misamis Occidental. PNP Region 10 spokesperson Superintendent Lemuel Gonda identified the victim as Jeronimo Marabe Jr. Marabe was ambushed Tuesday morning by 4 armed men while he was in his vehicle. No motive had been established yet, but the victim was known to be a legal counsel for the Parohinog family. The slain former Ozamis Mayor Reynaldo Parohinog and other members of his family are in the government's list of suspected narco politicians. Up next, the Department of Education says it is ready to accept enrollees to the alternative learning system all year round. Baguio City raises alarm over the rising number of HIV cases among homosexual men. These and more when the PNA Newsroom returns.
Sa divorce law dahil sa mga hindi na happy na mag-asawa para maiwasan ang violation against women and their children.
No, I'm not in favor of divorce in the Philippines because it is not an answer to those couples who are in a battle in their relationships. I do believe that there's always a solution in every problem, and to those couples who are in a rocky path of their relationships, it is not the best way after all.
Hindi.
Bakit?
Kasi yung kasal is sagrado na yun at sinumpaan mo na yan sa Panginoon eh.
I believe that it is high time for the Philippines to enact a law that shall ensure or protect the rights of the women or the rights of every individual, which is the right to divorce or the right to separate from marriage or to sever away from marriage.
No, hindi po ako pabor sa divorce because it gives a wider path for immorality and marital infidelity, and it also degrades the value of marriage, and naniniwala ako na ang kasal ay isang sagrado, kaya hindi ako pabor sa divorce.
For me, it's a no because I believe that marriage is is sacred. Nag-vow ka mo within each other that till death do us part, kamo gadyang may maway. So, I am not in favor.
In favor ako sa divorce kasi marami mga mag-asawang hindi nagkakasundo, lalo yung mga sinasaktan, lalo yung lalaki irresponsible. Hindi naman kailangan magsakripisyo pa o magpakamarte ng babae dahil lang sa kailangan ng mga anak niya, yung tatay niya. Though, kailangan talaga mas maganda kung magkasama yung family. Pero kung hindi rin naman worth na magkasama kayo, ng asawa mo, sinasaktan ka, irresponsible yung lalaki, there's no reason of staying together.
Yes, I'm in favor of divorce here in the Philippines because I know that violence against women is very rampant here and it mostly happens inside their homes.
The Department of Education's Alternative Learning System program is ready to take in new students all year round. DepEd Assistant Secretary G.H. Ambat said every day is enrollment day for ALS and that there are 300,000 learners enrolled in the program nationwide. Ambat says ALS enrollees will increase because there are adults who will ask about finishing elementary or high school. Based on enrollment data, there are many enrollees from the regions of Bicol, Davao, Region 2, and Region 12. Adults and young people who drop out of school find a second chance in education in the ALS program. Ambat added that the ALS program is aligned to the K-12 curriculum, hence its graduates would become readily employable with chances of getting higher pay. The ALS program has the full support of President Rodrigo Duterte, local government units, and private entities. The Philippine Drug Enforcement Agency has filed administrative charges against a barangay chairman in Maguindanao for failure to activate a barangay anti-drug abuse council in his area of jurisdiction. PDEA Director General Aaron Aquino said Jamil Dilabaken, incumbent barangay chairman of Barangay Mataya, Municipality of Buldon, was charged of gross negligence and dereliction of duty after he failed to activate a badak in his barangay. The PDEA Regional Office, ARMM, filed the case against Dilabaken before the Office of the Deputy Ombudsman for Maguindanao in Matina, Davao City. According to Aquino, failure to allocate funds in anti-drug efforts shall be a ground for disapproval of their annual budget and possible filing of appropriate charges pursuant to the local government code and anti-drug law. BADAC's main role is to assist law enforcement agencies in the eradication and clearing operations of illegal drugs in the barangay level. All local government units are enjoined to appropriate a substantial portion of their annual budgets for barangay drug clearing operations. NLEX and Blackwater went to work in terms of trading players before the Philippine Basketball Association goes to its All-Star break. Both teams agreed on a trade that will see Dave Marcelo and Rabe Al-Husiani swapping kits. The trade was made official on Saturday, coming at an opportune time as both teams were currently on a slump. Blackwater is in need of more ceiling with Poy Aram and James Sena as its only legit local big men. On the other hand, NLEX went for Marcelo as coach Yang Giao looks at utilizing him. Raul Soyud and Mike Miranda, who have shown brilliance this season, more often. Giao expects Marcelo to be part of the team's future mainstays. He added there are NLEX players who are retiring soon and they are looking for the next generation of players. Baguio City is hoping to raise awareness on HIV and AIDS as health officials report an increase in the number of cases in the city. More on this for Maricor Zapata.
The city government of Baguio is initiating a candle lighting ceremony on Thursday, May 24, to promote awareness on the rising cases of human immunodeficiency virus or HIV in the city. This as the city discovered 10 more people infected with HIV in the past several months of this year alone. Christina Juan, a nurse at the city's social hygiene clinic, revealed that all of the new cases involved men having sex with men. One said this brings to 30 the total HIV cases found in the city so far. 20 others were detected to have HIV last year and are now undergoing medication. One is urging residents and concerned sectors to support the city's various programs and interventions to get rid of the virus for good. She hopes to gather the support of city officials and residents in the annual candle lighting ceremony to remember those who have died or have been infected by the disease. The city continuously enhances its massive information and education campaign, especially among high-risk sectors, to prevent cases of the dreaded illness from going out of control. The city espouses healthy practices, safe sex, and not having multiple partners. The city nurse noted that while the HIV cases among men having sex with men are rising, cases of commercial sex workers infected with HIV are on a downtrend. She attributed this to the interventions by the local health department, particularly the conduct of weekly health checkups among at-risk women, aside from informing them of the risk of the sex trade. For the PNA Newsroom, I'm Maricor Zapata.
Let's now check out the weather forecast for Metro Manila and the rest of the country. Here's another look at today's top stories. Continuous pollution of Boracay's water is seen to delay the island's rehabilitation and reopening. President Duterte is seeking peaceful alternatives instead of going into war over disputed West Philippine Sea. The Department of Trade and Industry shows support for provisions of the second train law that will benefit investment activities. And Baguio City raises alarm over the rising number of HIV cases among homosexual men. Thank you for watching another edition of the PNA Newsroom. To check out these and other stories, visit the PNA website or follow the Philippine News Agency on Facebook and Twitter. For more stories about the government and how it serves the Filipinos, look for these hashtags in all of our social media platforms and websites. Just a bit of Wednesday wisdom, empty your cup if you want new knowledge and new blessings to come from pouring in. And that's your daily dose of the latest news and information that you need to know. From the PNA Newsroom, I'm William Theo. Good day.